Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are going to have a look at my updated Game Week 1 draft, which I think is my best one yet, although I am going to say that every time I update my draft, but I'm going to keep updating these every single week for you guys, and hopefully it's going to get better and better and better and accumulate in the perfect draft by the time we hit the deadline. So guys, this one is, I think, a little bit safer, a little bit more flexible, but also does have that lovely bit of FPL Mate spice that serves me so well. So I think you're going to like this one, guys. If you do, please do leave a like on this video. It really helps out so much more than you can imagine. Please do. And also subscribe. I know at least half of you guys watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. We're trying to get to 150,000 subscribers by Game Week 1. I can only do that with your help, and you can always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. But without further ado, guys, let's have a look at this team. Okay, so this time we've actually spent all 100 million of the budget, and I hope that's going to show in the team. I hope you're going to kind of see why, because it's a pretty good team. Like, don't get me wrong. Let's start off in goal. We have got Raya. So we're back to Raya in goal, the Brentford man. I do strongly feel now that he is going to be the first choice goalkeeper for Brentford over Strakowska. And the fixtures are pretty good, particularly after the first two. And he performed so well last season, towards the end of the season particularly. We kind of saw his goalkeeping stats were just absolutely incredible. Like, whenever he was playing, I know he had that injury, but whenever he was playing, like, he did so well. So I think hopefully he's going to be back to his best this season. He's got one of the best records of the probably the best record of the 4.5 million goalkeepers last season. So hopefully he is the one to take us to victory. I think this could be a really good pick in goal. Lots of saves, good save percentage, decent amount of clean sheets as well from Brentford. We're expecting they're a decent defence, obviously. Let's go. Let's see what we can do. In defence, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, a staple of my FPL teams. I mean, he's not going anywhere. The only player I had from Game Week 1 to Game Week 38 every single game week last season. And I would have to say, this season is probably going to be a similar situation. I'll probably have Trent every single game week. Now, our second defensive pick is going to be Laporte. Yes, I've hopped up for Robertson, potentially temporarily, but yeah, I'll speak about that a little bit more shortly. But for right now, we haven't got Robertson in the current draft, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more. But we have got Laporte. Again, my feelings have not changed in terms of Laporte versus Cancelo. Maybe I could change a Laporte to Diaz. I do prefer Laporte when fit. To be honest, he gets a few more headers, a few more kind of chances that he creates, and he's just more likely to get you those goals and assists, which is something that we quite like, especially from those set pieces. I do think, and I'll say this again, I know people will never agree with me on this one, but, well, some people won't anyway. But if Man City sign another left back, and I really feel like they will sign another left back by Game Week 1, it is going to mean that Cancelo is either going to have his game time reduced, or he's going to play more on the right hand side. Probably a combination of them both, and I don't think Cancelo's actually going to hit the heights of last season, and that's my bold prediction, and I'm going to have to kind of, you know, die on that hill really. If that's my prediction, I've got to back it, and I've got to back it with my FPL picks. So let's see what happens, but right now, Laporte, for 1 million cheaper, I'm happy to go for him, especially if I can use that 1 million to boost the rest of my team. And my word, the rest of this team is pretty stacked, let me tell you that. We've got Reece James next. We are still on Reece James in terms of our Chelsea fullbacks. I've now got a little bit more confidence that Chelsea are going to remain with a back five. I did kind of think, would they potentially move to a back four? But it does seem like they are going to stick with a back five, according to various reports, which is very good stuff. We'll keep an eye on that as we see more pre-season games, of course. And Reece James is just so attacking, so far up the pitch on that right-hand side, taking so many shots, creating so many chances. You can't really miss with him, even though you do miss a lot when things don't go wrong. But Koulibaly's signed for Chelsea as well, so hopefully that's going to give a big boost to their defence. One more defensive signing probably from them before Game Week 1, and we're absolutely laughing with Chelsea, and things are going to look very good indeed. And then we're going to finish off the defence with a new man. It's Kieran Trippier. He's not been in any of my drafts before this one, but he is in now. I do like some of these early Newcastle fixtures a lot. 5 million is a cheap price for one of the best defences in the entire league in the second half of last season. You know, they were kind of third best defence in the whole league, Newcastle, in the second half of last season. If we're using that form and we're expecting that form to continue into the new season, then, you know, there's probably going to be some bargains to be had around the Newcastle defence. And especially if you look at some of these fixtures, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, Wolves, those 3 fixtures, you could possibly expect some clean sheets, some low-scoring clean sheets games from Newcastle, as they kind of did last season. And if the games are kind of 0-0s and 1-0s, it's going to be the defenders that are going to be picking up the bonus points. And Trippier, with the amount of chances he creates, the fact he's on set pieces, the fact that he can score some absolute screamer free kicks as well, it all adds up. And I think we could have a really good FPL pick on our hands there. Now, moving on into midfield, we still have, of course, got Mo Salah. That ain't changing. I'm not going anywhere in terms of this one, and I'll still keep saying this. If you haven't got Salah in your team, you are a crazy person. Like, it's okay to be a crazy person, but you kind of got to accept that about yourself. He is just the most essential player in FPL, and still, you know, we've seen over 40% of FPL managers without Salah in their team. Fair enough, guys. You do you, but I mean, we're sticking with Salah over on this channel. I'm telling you that for sure. I'm not going anywhere near, you know, a team without Salah. It's just the truth. You know, these opening fixtures, the amount he scores at the beginning of every single season, he just dominates it, and I think he's going to do it again. Jarrod Bowen, we've still got him. He's a little bit of a differential for me because I think a lot of people are ignoring him because of that Man City game. But you've got to remember, Bowen was one of the best scoring FPL players last season, and yes, he has had a major price rise, but hopefully he's going to continue to be that main goal scorer for West Ham. There's no reason to think why he wouldn't be. This Man City game, I think, is actually not a bad fixture for Bowen at all. I think he's fairly fixture-proof in the way he plays, you know, on the counter and stuff like that. I think he's going to have a really good start to the season, even after that Man City game. You know, we've got some good fixtures here. Nottingham Forest, Brighton, Aston Villa. There are some real opportunities for a great player like Bowen, and if he's going to keep getting better and better and better, which I think he will do, and he's going to keep taking West Ham to these better levels, then I think we're going to get so many FPL points from him. So I hope people keep ignoring Bowen, because it's going to mean that I will have the differential there. So I kind of like this one. And we've got Luis Diaz in the team next. Yes, we've got Diaz instead of Robertson. We have had the news that Jota has got a small injury that is going to mean that he's going to be, Jota's probably going to be out for the beginning of the season, which means Luis Diaz pretty much has a clear run at left wing, which is pretty nice. Something I was concerned about with Diaz is potential rotation, maybe not lack of game time necessarily, but not playing quite as many minutes as someone like Robertson, who I do believe is going to play every single game. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I do still think Robertson is going to outscore Luis Diaz over the course of the season. But if I'm thinking, you know, early wild card, maybe we go with Luis Diaz at the beginning of the season while Jota is injured particularly. Then when Nunez starts to get integrated into the team a little bit more, when we see Jota return from injury, Luis Diaz, maybe his minutes drop off at that point. But at that point, maybe I'm wild carding and I can bring Robertson back into my team as my Diaz replacement and stick with the 3 Liverpool players, but go with Robertson and take Robertson for the rest of the games, which I think could be actually a pretty good strategy. So yeah, we're on Diaz at the moment. I think he's a fantastic player. I've never been shy about saying that. The concern was always game time, but I think that is looking a little bit better now. And finally in midfield, we have got Leon Bailey, who's having a cracking preseason. I've kind of spoken about him as a bit of a differential in previous videos. He's 1.4% owned as I make this video. He's just 5 million. He's doing well in preseason, and I think if he turns out to be the player we thought he was just 1 year ago, you know, he was absolutely dominating the Bundesliga, you know, scoring like so many goals, getting so many assists as well when he was playing for Leverkusen, and he's now listed as 5 million because I think FPL thought maybe this guy is down and out. But let me tell you, if the friendlies are anything to say, this guy is not down and out yet. He's ready for his opportunity to play in the Premier League, and he's going to be the solution to the right wing situation at Aston Villa. I mean, it's just a prediction, but I think this is a real possibility that's going to happen, and I hope that we're going to see the best of Bailey once again. And if not, there are some players on the bench who I can rotate with Bailey a little bit. So he's a little bit of a punt there. Don't get me wrong. This is one of my very few risky picks because I don't really think anyone else in my starting 11 is really risky at all, to be honest. But Bailey is my risky pick. And maybe he may need to rotate or, you know, switch about a little bit with bench options. But we'll get to the bench in a moment. Up front, we've still got Harry Kane. So I'm still backing Kane over Haaland. That ain't changing either. Harry Kane, you know, second half of last season, he was like first for XG, first for XA, or maybe not XA, but, you know, he created insane amount of chances, insane amount of key passes, insane amount of big chances created, insane amount of big chances taken, insane amount of shots. Like, he was like top 3 in every single metric and top 1 in the majority of forward metrics, which is just a ridiculous thing to be saying. And I know everyone likes the excitement of a Haaland, don't get me wrong, but Kane's fixtures are just as good. Kane is more central to his own team. Kane's going to be on penalties. I guess Haaland may be on penalties as well, but we think Kane is going to be on penalties. Well, we know Kane is going to be on penalties for sure. And, you know, his preseason, Kane's preseason so far, he's been absolutely smashing it. Player of the preseason for Spurs by a long way. Yeah, he's been doing very well indeed. And he's that little bit cheaper this season as well. 12.5 last season, 11.5 this. So, yeah, pretty nice. Hopefully, he's going to repay my faith in him. But, yeah, he's one of my... I get not differentials necessarily, because I think a lot of the better FPL players will default to Kane because maybe it's a little bit more boring than Haaland. But I still think that Kane is going to give me a little bit of an edge over those who pick Haaland. And I do think Kane is going to outscore Haaland over the first, you know, 4, 5, 6 game weeks. And I'm not really looking to make a transfer in this position anyway. So, come on, Kane. Do me proud. And finally, up front, because we've got 2 forwards now, we have got Gabby Jesus. So Jesus is coming into this team. Obviously, he is smashing it in preseason as well. He is running riot. I've kind of got to a point where I kind of think, you know what, I wanted to go for Saka, but if preseason says anything, Jesus is really integrating so well into this Arsenal team, and he's kind of showing shades of what we thought he could be as a forward. And I think he's going to be really impactful. I think he's going to be really pivotal to the way Arsenal play. I think he's going to get a lot of the ball, and I think he's going to get goal-scoring opportunities as well. I like the look of his positioning in preseason particularly, and I like the way, you know, he is, you know, very much a star man, which I didn't really think he would be. I didn't think he would be the star of the show necessarily. I thought he'd be another important cog, but so far he has looked like a bit of a star. So obviously we're going to keep an eye on these friendlies, seeing how players fit into the teams, what are the tactics looking like. Not necessarily paying too much attention to the results, but just seeing how the tactics and how a player fits into their team. And let me tell you, Jesus is fitting in very well at Arsenal so far, and as an Arsenal fan, you know, I feel like we've got to go for it. I feel like we've got to take the punt on the new man, even though he's been around the Premier League forever. So I guess he's not like a new quantity in the Premier League. There's that little bit of confidence we can have there. 8 goals, 8 assists last season. Seasons before that, I think he scored, you know, had a couple of seasons where he scored, you know, over 10, 12, maybe even more goals than that. I think he scored 14 one season, actually. So, yeah, obviously a player with Premier League pedigree, decent fixtures, plays for Arsenal, not a bad price. Let's see what he can do. But definitely, I'm not 100% on any of these players, of course, guys. But, you know, so far, this team looks amazing. Now, on the bench, guys, every player is at base level. And I know you guys are not going to be happy with that, because people will say, well, you got to have good players on the bench. I don't think you do. I don't think you need to have good players on the bench. And we got Nico Williams, 4 million, right wing back for the Brexit Bull and Nottingham Forest team. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. I think he low-key could outscore a lot of the 4.5 million defenders, maybe even some of the 5 million defenders. So I actually think he could do really well this season. I think he could be, you know, the new like Livramento, the new Dallas Lundstrom, Wan-Bissaka from the season before that. You know, when we just get that, I know Dallas isn't, but, you know, you get that 4 million defender who ends up absolutely dominating the season, or at least part of the season. I think Nico Williams could be that at the beginning of the season. And then we've spoken about Andreas Pereira enough on this channel. Like, he is, I swear he's mentioned in every other of my videos. So, yeah, he is obviously going to be a player who's pretty good as well. And I think Williams and Andreas Pereira are going to potentially rotate a little bit with Leon Bailey if the Leon Bailey punt doesn't kind of pay off. But I've got enough cover there with 2 players deep in terms of cover, and I think they are good enough. I know people are going to say they're 4 million, they're 4.5 million. How can they be good cover? I do believe that these players are very good cover, and I think they can do more than the 2 points that's expected of them. I think these players can kind of average 4 points a game, which is more than enough for their price, and considering they're just players to cover me. And I can kind of rotate depending on fixtures as well, play each of them in the favourable games to try and take advantage of when they get their better scores as well. And then there's no problem with doing that, because I'm not spending money to do rotation players. I'm spending nothing and rotating players, which seems like a pretty good strategy to me. And then finally, we've got Plange, partially because his name is kind of, I mean, I find his name hilarious, don't get me wrong. But he also scored a hat-trick for Crystal Palace in a pre-season game a few days ago. And I thought, you know what, let's stick him in the FPL team for now. He's still super low ownership, so there's not really much risk there of him dropping in price or anything like that. So, there we go, guys. That is what I believe to be a pretty nice team, to be honest. Captain's armband is going to go on Salah, as always. Vice captain's armband, not that there's any such thing, is going to go on Kane, as always. But there we go, guys. That is what the team is looking like right now. I think there's the right amount of safe players. We've got Trent, we've got Salah, we've got Diaz, we've obviously got Reece James, and Gabriel Jesus as well. They're going to be your safe players, I guess, that everyone is picking. But we have got a little bit of spice in there. We've got Laporte, which is pretty much only going to cover Cancelo, so I don't think that will make too much of an impact. Trippier, I think, is a nice little differential. Bowen, I think, is a nice differential. Bailey is definitely a real differential, but let's see how that goes. That is a bit of a punt. And then Harry Kane over Haaland is a bit of a differential as well. So we've got a lot more flexibility here because we've got a variety of different players in different positions at different price points. You know, I can easily downgrade a Bowen or a Diaz to, you know, any other 8 million or 7.5 million, 7 million player. It would be nice to be able to upgrade Bailey, but I don't quite have the money to do that. But, you know, maybe I could switch him down to a 4.5 and, you know, play some other way, I guess. If a 4.5 emerges as an absolutely amazing player. We've got some, you know, we've got some expensive defenders. Trent Alexander-Arnold, super expensive. We've got some like kind of expensive, like pretty expensive defenders in Laporte and James. If I want to switch to a Perisic, for example, I can switch out a Laporte or a James. And we've got Trippier, who is kind of that kind of cheap defender as well, so we can obviously rotate that a little bit. If Trippier doesn't work out, we can find another 4.5, maybe a 5 to replace him. You know, Matty Cash, for example, if I wanted to go for a 5 million, or we can go to a Tomiyasu if we wanted to get in the Arsenal defence, or a Zinchenko if he when he signs for Arsenal, I guess, because it's just a matter of seconds, I guess, by this point. Yeah, and then up front, obviously, we've got Jesus. He can switch down to a different forward as well, whereas before I was kind of playing with 2 4.5 million forwards on the bench, or 1 5.5 million forward, which means I pretty much had Kane and I couldn't move to any other forward in one transfer. But I feel like this team does actually have a decent amount of flexibility in it compared to my previous teams. A lot more balance, a lot more safe players, but also a decent amount of risky players as well at the same time. So it works in every way, and it's kind of more the kind of team I'd be comfortable going into game week 1 with. And I think that's the idea of the beginning of the season, isn't it, really, guys? We're testing different things out. We're kind of thinking in different ways. We're strategizing a little bit. We're trying to think a little bit further ahead. And we're kind of working out what is going to work for us. And I think I'm getting closer to what's going to work for me, which is good because we've got less than 3 weeks now. So I've got to figure it out eventually, hopefully pretty soon. But there we go, guys. That is the end of the video. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Like I say, massively helps. If you're new around here, half of you watching this video are not subscribed. What are you doing, guys? You're missing out on so much great FPL content. We've got to get to 150,000 subscribers by game week 1. It's basically impossible, but it is possible. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, hopefully you like this team. Let me know what's going on in your teams, what you're kind of thinking with your teams, what will you do differently in my team, I guess, as well. And we'll try and answer as many comments as possible in this video as well. But there we go. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.